YouTube, it's Pyromancer here, and welcome back to my channel. Hope you're having a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are in the world. And today I want to talk to you guys about Sylvanas Windrunner, because I made a video about a month ago. Guess that's when my last video probably was, about a month ago. Sorry about that. Where I discussed how I thought Sylvanas Windrunner was intentionally doing things that were bringing the Horde and even members of the Alliance together in order to make them stronger. This is based on a very simple premise, and it is outlined with the very first line of dialogue from the very first cinematic of Battle for Azeroth, the Battle for Lordaeron, where Sylvanas says, "Ours is a cycle of hatred, alliances forged and broken. We have paid the price for sharing this world, and we have forgotten what makes us strong." And I then referenced a very important lesson that you were supposed to learn from Tong the Fixer, a panda from Pandaria. Yeah, I know, the meme expansion, right? Because
yes, that's right.
No one saw pandas coming, and they definitely weren't in established lore previously. But
They were not. They were a literal bonus mission from Warcraft 3. There were not. It was like, there's like, okay, as Chen Stormstout is vaguely related to Rexxar. It's like, imagine having literally 3 offshoot characters that you decide, you know what? Let's make an entire fucking expansion about him. No, man, I'm not going to have it.
Digress, where he's basically trying to teach Rathian that his rage at Varian Wrynn for not dismantling the Horde is misplaced, because you see, Rathian doesn't understand that the Horde and the Alliance are strong because of one another, not in spite of one another, not despite one another.
That's true. It's like, think about all the bombs we make in case Russia attacks us. Think about all the bombs that Russia makes in case we attack them. We wouldn't have those bombs if we weren't worried about the other dude. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, think about that.
Because of our quarrels that we have become stronger.
Right.
And if the wars that we have had did not happen, then we would stagnate and we would not become more powerful. This is a very simple premise, and I believe that it's something that Sylvanas Windrunner understands. Now, yes, it does mean that Sylvanas Windrunner is playing like 17 million D chess, but you know what? Sylvanas Windrunner's pretty cunning, calculated, and clever generally, and when you put Azerite in her...
Is she really that cunning, calculated, and clever whenever she got betrayed by Lord Godfrey? A level 20 dungeon boss? I mean, I'm sorry to say, but I mean, yeah, Lord Godfrey died... Say what?
That's a good point.
Yeah, I mean...
Played completely.
I mean, she does a bunch of dumbass shit regularly, man.
Yeah, she's stupid.
She's not stupid, but she's not... It's like...
She's an idiot.
I don't think she's playing 17D chess.
Hands. God only knows what that woman can do when she snorts a little bit of that up her fucking nasal cavity and starts coming up with tactical plans. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh,
especially when it's becoming ever more evident that she seems to be serving N'Zoth. Now, that's a different discussion, and we are going to talk about what I think she's doing with N'Zoth, but I was doing the Horde, finishing up the Horde War campaign last night, where you go and you rescue Baine, and there were several huge things that I noticed. I want to throw this out there that, you know, I have been ratting on Saurfang the entire time. I told on him in the Swamp of Sorrows. I told on Baine with what we did with Zelling.
Wait, what?
In Derek Proudmoore. I ratted on everything, and this was no different. So when I found out that we were going to go find Baine, I went and told Nathanos, my favorite guy. And as I approached him, as he usually says, "What do you want?" I told him, Nathanos, they're going to try to go save Baine Bloodhoof.
Okay.
And Nathanos says, play along. That's fine. Just play along. We can't afford to lose an asset as valuable as you, champion. Oh, great. Thanks for the recognition there,
Isn't
Nathanos.
it just like
There's a couple
just
huge things
sucking
here,
the
guys.
character's dick?
One, if Sylvanas Windrunner wanted someone dead, like Baine Bloodhoof, why the fuck isn't he dead? Sylvanas is not that kind of character. We've seen her act very impulsively before. Why isn't Baine already dead? Oh, here's the answer. It's because she doesn't want him dead. here's the key to this. Sylvanas has been basically playing
Okay.
cards in such a perfect fucking manner
Okay.
as to literally bring people like Thrall back into this. And now, what has happened is using Baine as a pawn, knowing, because I even told Nathanos that we would be coming, knowing that the Horde champions, Thrall and Saurfang, were going to come and save him. And according to Nathanos,
Right.
and I believe even the Blood Elf that we fight in there, Sylvanas also knew that Jaina Proudmoore was coming to save him as well. Sylvanas knew that there were several very powerful heroes that had banded
But
together,
didn't they just get
including
away?
us, that were going to come and try to rescue Baine.
Like,
So we show up
No,
and
just
we
watch it.
save Baine.
Okay.
I find it interesting that the wards that were being used to try to keep us from leaving Baine's room were arcane, and if Sylvanas really did know that Jaina was with us, it's kind of an interesting tactic to try to use arcane to stop one of the most powerful arcane wielders on the planet. Don't you guys?
I think he's reading too much into it. Like, I mean, I really think that, like, that element is reading a little bit too much into it. I don't know, like, we'll see, but that's my opinion so far.
think?
So
It's a
I
bit.
watched all his videos,
Okay.
and I think at some points he gives the writers way too much credit, but it's worth discussing the ideas,
Okay.
in my opinion.
It's acceptable.
It's a bit odd. Yeah. According to the Horde character who has the vision, you talk to Lorthamar Theron,
Okay.
and he tells you to talk to the Tauren there. I can't remember the guy's name. But
His name's Tauren.
when you first arrive at Nazjatar, that same Tauren is basically, he says to you, my dreams are troubled here. Now, I don't know exactly how these Tauren shaman or whatever the fuck he is, really,
Okay.
have these visions where they commune with the spirits. But I have to wonder how flawed they are, because in the vision, he basically says, I see Baine, he's surrounded by enemies and all this stuff.
Well, I mean, like, obviously they're fucked up in some way, right? Because wasn't it, who was it, Vol'jin, that got the vision corrupted by, we're all assuming, N'Zoth, whenever they decided to make Vol'jin, whenever Vol'jin decided to make Sylvanas the war chief? So there's already a precedent for this in the game to begin with. So
Yeah,
I
he
don't-
goes over that if you keep
And,
watching.
Sylvanas comes in and speaks but a word, and he dies. And this will happen exactly 1 day from now. This will happen tomorrow, essentially. So we basically get jebaited into going.
Okay.
But I just think it's so hilarious, because I think it's just becoming ever more clear that Sylvanas didn't want Baine Bloodhoof dead. She didn't. That's not been the plan ever. She wanted us, specifically Thrall and Jaina, to band together to go and save him. Because what happens after that? What happens?
I don't think, like, what about if you just use the exact same parallel with Garrosh? Is it like whenever Garrosh killed Cairn, that was like everything after killing Cairn was downhill. So it seems like obviously she's not going to literally make the exact same, not Kanye, okay? I don't know, I called him Kanye for like, I don't know, 10 years, okay? It's hard for me to unlearn. Anyway, it seems like she's not going to literally make the exact same mistake that Garrosh did to like polarize everybody against her if she does kill Baine.
After that? Even during the scenario, Jaina is being the mediator between characters like Thrall and Matthias Shaw, who kind of almost instantaneously kind of start to shit talk one another after you all meet down in that area.
Okay.
And then afterwards, you have Jaina and Thrall essentially making amends with one another. It's happening just like she wanted it to. And here's another thing. She decides to keep Baine Bloodhoof down in an area where pretty much all of the champions who helped rescue him had previously had access to and were familiar with. Just
Do you know why I think that she decided to keep him in the same area? Is because Blizzard didn't want to design new assets.
Yeah, I would agree.
That's basically why I think that they probably put him in the same place. It's just kind of what makes sense.
Gonna throw that out there. Saurfang was there for the Siege of Orgrimmar. Thrall was there for the Siege of Orgrimmar. Jaina was there for the Siege of Orgrimmar.
Okay.
Almost everyone present that helped to save Baine has previously interacted with that underbelly kind of area that we went in there to save him from.
Okay.
And you know the most fucking hilarious thing, the thing that really kind of proves it and draws it all together, is that Nathaniel...
Yeah, there's another one. Everyone's been to the stockades. Why did they keep Saurfang there? That's a really good fucking point, isn't it? Yeah, I never even thought of that. Very true.
says, I go back to him after I complete this whole quest line. I go back to Nathanos and I told him what happened. And he says, yeah, not entirely unexpected. Sylvanas essentially, this is paraphrased, but he basically says Sylvanas knew that we were going to escape. Sylvanas had planned for that. And he said, it's really annoying that I have to play along and make it seem like to those heroes that they escaped. But, you know, we just have to play along. What's basically being said here is that Nathanos and Sylvanas were fully aware that the champions that were going to come and try to rescue Baine would come. And they knew that they would get away. Not just that they would show up, but that they would be successful. They knew that. That right there is proof to me that she knew that Baine Bloodhoof was... or that she had never planned that Baine Bloodhoof was going to die. If she did, she would have just had him fucking killed before we got there. Sylvanas is not the kind of character that would pussyfoot around, essentially. She would make sure the job was done. And if Baine Bloodhoof was meant to die, he would be dead.
I mean, that is maybe true because you think about the tree, right? I mean, she burned that right the fuck down. I mean, Sylvanas does, you know, she does some crazy ass shit. That's definitely a fact.
Not only that, she burned it down just to twist the knife at a fucking night elf. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, it's just like one person. It's like, okay, fuck you. Now we're gonna burn down the tree.
Sadistic.
Yeah, she's crazy.
I'll tell you that right now. One other thing that I thought was a really wonderful call out was that Lorthamar Theron and Thalyssra are standing around the fire at the Horde encampment in Nazjatar. And when you go back and you tell Lorthamar that Jaina and Thrall helped to break out Baine, he's kind of surprised at that. And Thalyssra says to him, why are you surprised? This is not new. The Horde and the Alliance banded together to rescue Suramar from the Legion. And Lorthamar has kind of a little revelation. And he basically says to Thalyssra, your counsel is most wise. And he quotes someone and I'm going to paraphrase this as well. He basically says, there was a time in the past where someone once said to them, the fighting and the quarrel stops when you both turn around and walk away. And I immediately
that was Jesus. I know that quote.
What was being
referenced. That was from the Bible.
At the foot of Lay Shen, from the Mists of Pandaria expansion, there's a part where Jaina Proudmoore and a ton of Kirin Tor Magi and Lorthamar Theron and a bunch of Sunreaver Magi show up at the foot of Lay Shen right before where Nalek spawns. And they have a confrontation, and Terran Zu is there. And Terran Zu basically interjects into this quarrel and essentially says,
I hate him.
Enough.
I can't wait for him to die.
This has to stop. Your senseless acts of violence need to stop.
Okay.
Every time that you act violently with one another, it is reciprocated by another violent act, and you must knock it off.
Oh, jeez.
Turn around.
Okay,
and
all right,
walk
here we go.
away. And Lorthamar remembers this. It was a lesson, as mentioned by Lorthamar, that was supposed to be learned.
They're so stupid.
And he finally understood the truth of its meaning. That sometimes the eternal conflict between the two factions, it doesn't make sense, and maybe every once in a while, or maybe permanently at some point, it is meant to end. It's going to have to end. Because while war has made us stronger, and Sylvanas is aware of this, she has in fact orchestrated this. We're being brought together for the greater good once again. And
Okay.
people call it a repetitive trope. People say it's something that's overdone. But what the fuck do you expect? You can't beat armies like the Legion. You can't beat players like Ashara without everyone being part of it.
I
And as
guess.
Thrall mentions,
Yeah, that's true.
we've done this so many times and it always falls apart. Just like Sylvanas said, alliances forged and broken. We have paid the price for sharing this world. And we have forgotten what makes us strong. And Thrall begs the question to Jaina, what's different this time? And Jaina says one
It's
of
a
the
new
most
patch.
important and I think accurate things she could have said. We are different. Ha! That's fucking beautiful. That's great.
Okay.
Jaina is a perfect example of someone who's different, whose character progression has come leaps and bounds. I would argue she is probably one of, if not the most well-written character in World of Warcraft. Jaina's a wonderfully written character.
Is Jaina a well-written character? I would say overall, I mean,
I
like,
don't know.
okay, so the one thing that you have to understand about Jaina is that any male that becomes involved with her dies. Kael'thas, dead. Her dad, dead. Arthas, dead. Every
But
single
that dragon,
Kael'gos?
didn't he die?
Avarian, dead. No, I didn't think so. Didn't he almost
No,
die?
he's the new leader, isn't he, of the Blue Dragonfly?
Yeah, after Malagos, after we killed Malagos.
Yeah, I remember now.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah, Ronan, dead. Yeah, think about it, man.
Ronan's dead?
Yeah?
That's cool.
Yeah.
Thank you, Christy Golden, for that one.
Okay.
But I digress. Sylvanas is doing it on purpose. She is far too clever and far too beloved a character for
Okay.
Blizzard to do her the way in which people have thought it would be done the entire time. And here's an honest
I mean, what happened to Ner'zhul? He literally died in a 5-man dungeon. Okay, what happened to what happened to Sargeras? We didn't
yeah,
even
but hold
talk
on.
to him.
That doesn't count because that was WoD. I mean, that's like, if you take anything that happened in WoD seriously, you're gonna have a bad time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
No, I get that. I agree with you. But it's still there. I mean, I don't know what else to say besides it's still there.
here's an honest opinion.
Okay.
A lot of the story of WoW, I would honestly go as far as to say almost the majority of the story is not in the game. It's in books like Before the Storm, which most of the player base has not read.
Yeah, it's terrible.
It's in books like Chronicle, which most of the player base has not read.
Right.
It's in short stories and comics and audio dramas that most players don't read.
Yeah,
Because
people
it's
don't give a shit.
extraneous. It's on the side. It's not in your face. And the way that Blizzard has been presenting and
It's a mistake.
representing Sylvanas in the game as of late has been very poorly executed, if you ask me. And
That's exactly what they did with Garrosh. Is that, like, apparently in the books, Garrosh was much more reasonable, right? And, like, you could understand what he was coming into, right? And even in, like, the actual, like, the WoD cinematic, right? You look at the WoD cinematic, and Garrosh is basically Orc Thanos. And you look at the in-game cinematics for, like, the, Siege of Orgrimmar, and Garrosh is basically like a 5th grade bully. They just completely dumbed down his personality. It was awful.
only up until Nazjatar, where they're making it blatantly obvious that she's not doing what people think she's trying to do, is it going to start to click with players, and only if they actually, intentionally, and intently read the quest dialogue and the quest text, and they really pay attention.
Okay.
You cannot glide through the questing and still say that you understand what Sylvanas is doing. You're wrong. You're not paying enough attention.
Nobody
if that's
pays
the
attention.
case.
They don't
You
even read
have
the
to
quests.
Read the other source material. You have
Yeah.
to. It's way too important. It is way too important. And in WoW, it always has been. If you're not reading the books, you don't know as much about the lore as you think that you do. No offense, but that's just...
Well, that's fine. And that is completely fine. The problem is that whenever you play the game, you think the lore is one way. And whenever you read the books, you think the game is another way. So the issue is the fact that the lore in the game makes you think something that's not fully true. So if the lore in the game and the lore in the books was basically the lore in the game was just a smaller version of that, then it would be okay. But the problem is that it misleads you in the game, whereas the books fully explain the story.
That's the truth. You gotta read the stuff because way too much of it is missing from the game, especially things that give insight to Sylvanas' thought process, her tactical prowess, her literal plan with Saurfang to make the Alliance think that there was a huge issue among the top ranks of the Horde, and for her and Saurfang to literally orchestrate a fight among her, Nathanos, and Saurfang. It was part of their plan, and Baine Bloodhoof seemingly has been a huge portion of that plan as well this entire time. When you start thinking about the progression of this war, none of this happens without Sylvanas. Kultaras and Zandalar do not happen without Sylvanas. A lot of this stuff is very important and necessary to help equip us and prepare us for what is to come. And yeah, people died. A lot of people died.
Wow.
War never changes.
Yeah.
So I guess we're going to have to start getting over that pretty soon. Do I agree with the Kaldorei massacre, if that's what we want to call it? No. But most of you also don't know, I would wager, that Sylvanas knew that Elune would intervene on her actions at Teldrassil, and the way in which Elune intervened happened in two
Well, how did
manners.
Sylvanas know that?
She stopped Saurfang from killing
how the
Malfurion and
fuck?
Stormrage, and she also numbed the pain of the Night Elves that were dying in the tree. All of them. And Sylvanas had anticipated that something like this would happen. Why is that not illustrated in the game ever? That's a problem on Blizzard's end. Yeah. But that's why you have to read the books, and that's why you have to read the short stories. So,
That's
I'm
exactly
rambling
what
at
I'm
this
saying.
point.
He's saying the exact same
in the next
thing.
video, we're going to talk about what Sylvanas is doing with Ashara and N'Zoth. Short form? I don't think N'Zoth likes Ashara that much anymore, and I think Sylvanas is intent on making sure that Ashara doesn't keep N'Zoth imprisoned.
Well, obviously she doesn't like him. He's got that little tentacle, the cloud, and she's like, oh, not yet. You can't come out yet. It's like, what do you mean? Like, he's supposed to be, like, in a box? Like, yeah, of course he's pissed off. I guarantee you he's mad.
So we'll talk about that next time. If you guys don't know, I do have a Twitter, which I would really appreciate you guys following me at. I do tweet a lot of lore stuff, and you guys are really missing out if you're not following me there. It's twitter.com/pyromancersarg. You can also find me on Twitch, where I've been streaming relatively relatively consistently recently, 2 days in a row. So it's like, that's pretty good.
It's amazing.
I'd appreciate that. Twitch.tv/Pyromancer. I am partnered over there. A bunch of emotes if you guys want to come and check that out. Give it a follow and
there we go.
See if you enjoy yourself over there.
I'll link you guys
I
the
do
video.
have an open Discord where we do have some speculation that
There you
goes
go.
on
Yeah,
there.
two whole days in a
that's it,
row.
you guys. And then, of course, YouTube. If you guys don't know... Wait, we're on YouTube. Never mind.
Okay.
Thank you guys for watching this video. Click the like button if you enjoyed it, as it is the best way to let me know you enjoy my content, and it's the best way to
dude,
support
I
me as
mean,
a content
like...
creator. Subscribe if you're new to my channel.
Dude, I mean,
appreciate you
like...
I mean, he's a obviously we've got a Sylvanas fanboy on our hands here, but the ideas that he's bringing up are interesting to discuss. I think you're gonna have to watch the other video that he made, but I don't know. He draws a lot of conclusions from little details that I don't think the writer is meant to, like, intentionally meant to do. Like,
Well, yeah, it's like in English class, whenever somebody talks about going over a bridge and the teacher somehow thinks it's a metaphor for World War II. It's like, man, maybe it's just somebody going over a bridge, you know,
Yeah.
and they fucking, microanalyze every single element to a fucking thing that's like some kind of a gigantic war that happened 1,000 years ago. Maybe... it's like, did you ever ask the author, were they actually trying to make this correlation? Probably fucking not. And that always annoyed the fuck out of me back in school, because I knew for a fact, I'm like, man, this book is dumb as fuck. There's no way he thought of that. And it was just, it's like World War II was meant. Here's the thing, right? Is that there's a lot of examples of people doing something unintentionally and it working out. Here's an example of that. Classic WoW. Like, Kevin Jordan has talked about this a lot, that a lot of things in Classic WoW were pretty much an accident. Oh, wow, this accidentally worked. And that's great, but at the same time, you know, you've got to keep in mind that it wasn't an intentional thing.
Well, hold on. To be fair, that when Kevin Jordan says shit like that, he's
Yeah.
mostly referring to gameplay mechanics or emergent fucking gameplay, right? He's not
Yeah.
referring to the story. That's a different thing.
I think that it's, but like the concept is the same, right? Having unintended outcomes.
No, it's not. It's two
Yeah.
different.
No,
it's
it's
two
not.
different things.
No, it's not. Like, there's a lot of examples of that. Like, the emergent player behavior, right, is how people interpret it, basically. So fundamentally, it's the same. People are interpreting it in different ways, right? You're interpreting something on a metaphorical level versus the way that you approach it and deal with it and interact with it is emergent in a different way. But both of them are fundamentally the way that an individual perceives and interacts with and transforms the content in which they're interacting with.
Yes, but you're talking about two different things. Just because the concept is similar doesn't mean they both happened at with the same intention. You intentionally start a story and flesh it out in a way that it makes sense and people can understand it, and it's basically like you just follow along. But with gameplay, it's just different entirely because it's up to the player to make different shit up, like with twinking or whatever else,
Well,
it's just different.
it's like, as an example, right? With like having the what do you call it? The jail for Baine be under Orgrimmar, right? I think that's like the Siege of Orgrimmar area. It's because they already use those assets. Like, for example, like same as the arcane wards. Like, I feel like a lot of those examples are just pretty much things that the game already had, and it's like they were just gonna do already, and they just didn't want to make a completely new zone. It's just what makes sense.
But I agree with that, but I don't think that takes away from the fact that the story is supposed to be the way it is. And,
Yeah.
When you bring up Kevin Jordan talking about, well, it just happened to be that way, I think that's different than story writers bringing, interesting stories to the game. I just think that's different.